What happens when the responsibilities of everyday life seem to pull us away from what we know is right? In this episode, we explore an early Buddhist teaching that looks directly at that tension between caring for others and staying true to wholesome conduct. The sutta asks a simple but unsettling question: can good intentions protect us from the consequences of harmful actions? For anyone navigating work pressures, family duties, or inner conflict, this teaching offers a steady, clarifying perspective. As you listen, there's nothing to solve or achieve. Just allow the words to land and let yourself enter a quiet, attentive space where reflection can unfold naturally. In this discourse, the Buddha is staying near Rajagaha in the bamboo forest, a quiet sanctuary where monks often gather to practice and reflect. At the same time, Venerable Sāriputta, one of the Buddha's chief disciples, known for his clarity and wisdom, is traveling with a large community of monks in the southern mountains. A simple question about someone's well-being sets in motion a teaching that goes straight to the heart of ethical life and responsibility. A monk arrives from Rajagaha and greets Sāriputta. After exchanging news about the Buddha and the Sangha, Sāriputta asks about a local Brahmin named Dhanañjānin. He has heard of him before. The answer is troubling. Dhanañjānin, the monk says, is not heedful. He relies on the king to exploit householders and on householders to exploit the king. His wife, once a woman of faith, has died, and he has remarried someone without faith or concern for spiritual life. Sāriputta reflects quietly. To hear that someone lives without heedfulness, without care for the consequences of their actions, is never good news. He resolves that, if the opportunity arises, he will speak with this man. Later, Sāriputta returns to Rajagaha. One morning, after his alms round, he encounters Dhanañjānin outside the city, milking cows. The Brahmin recognizes him from afar and offers fresh milk, assuming the monk has not yet eaten. Sāriputta politely declines and suggests they speak later under a nearby tree. When Dhanañjānin joins him, they exchange greetings, and then Sāriputta asks a simple but pointed question. Is Dhanañjānin heedful? The Brahmin responds honestly. How could he be heedful, he asks, when so many duties press on him? Parents must be supported. Wife and children must be cared for. Workers and servants depend on him. Friends, relatives, guests, ancestors, gods, and the king all demand attention. Even this body, he says, must be fed and maintained. His life feels full, crowded, and driven by obligation. Sāriputta does not dismiss these responsibilities. Instead, he gently reframes the issue. He asks Dhanañjānin to imagine a person who commits unrighteous actions, actions out of harmony with what is right, claiming they did so for the sake of their parents. When the results of those actions ripen and that person is dragged towards suffering, would such an excuse help? Would the parents' approval protect them from the consequences? Dhanañjānin admits it would not. Even if the person cried out, they would still face the results of their deeds. Sāriputta repeats this reflection, not to overwhelm, but to make a single point unmistakable. The same would be true if one acted wrongly for the sake of spouse and children, for workers, friends, relatives, guests, ancestors, gods, the king, or even one's own body. None of these relationships can cancel the moral weight of an action. Each person inherits the results of what they do. Then Sāriputta asks the question that turns everything around. Which is better, he asks, to support one's parents by doing what is unrighteous and harmful, or to support them by doing what is righteous and harmonious? Dhanañjānin answers without hesitation. The better path is clear. Righteous conduct, conduct in harmony with what is wholesome, is always better than unrighteous conduct, no matter the excuse. Sāriputta affirms this insight and takes it further. There are, he says, other ways, reasonable and ethical ways, to support one's family and fulfill one's duties without doing harm, without abandoning goodness, and while still cultivating merit. The same is true for caring for the body. One does not need to sacrifice integrity in order to survive or to care for others. This is the heart of heedfulness, acting with awareness of cause and effect, even in the midst of everyday responsibility. Dhanañjānin listens with appreciation. He does not argue. He does not defend himself. He leaves delighted in Sāriputta's words, perhaps sensing for the first time that ethical clarity does not require withdrawal from life, but a different way of living within it. Some time later, Dhanañjānin falls gravely ill. He is in severe pain, his body racked by intense sensations that he describes in stark, almost unbearable images. Realizing the seriousness of his condition, he sends a messenger to the Buddha and to Sāriputta, asking them to come out of compassion. Sāriputta visits him at home. Sitting by his bedside, he asks gently about his condition. Dhanañjānin describes his suffering in detail: pain in his head like a blade, pressure like a tightening strap, agony in his stomach like a butcher's knife, burning throughout his body as if over hot embers. There is no attempt to soften the reality of illness here. Suffering is seen clearly, named directly. At this point, Sāriputta shifts the conversation. He does not deny the pain, nor does he try to distract Dhanañjānin from it. Instead, he asks a series of questions that guide the mind step by step. Which is better, he asks, hell or rebirth as an animal? The animal realm is better. Which is better, the animal realm or the realm of hungry ghosts? Hungry ghosts are better. Which is better, hungry ghosts or human beings? Human birth is better. Slowly, patiently, Sāriputta leads Dhanañjānin through higher and higher realms of existence, each associated in Buddhist thought with greater well-being and refinement. Human beings, the heavenly realms of the Devas, and finally the Brahma world, a realm associated with deep calm, purity, and vast states of mind. When Sāriputta mentions the Brahma world, Dhanañjānin reacts strongly. He asks to hear that again. For him, this ideal carries great meaning. Seeing this, Sāriputta reflects inwardly. The Brahmins, he knows, are devoted to the idea of union with Brahma. So he chooses to teach Dhanañjānin a practice that meets him where he is. He explains the path to union with the Brahmas through the cultivation of the 4 divine abodes, known in Pali as the Brahma Viharas. First is goodwill, metta, a sincere wish for the well-being of all. One practices by suffusing the mind with friendliness and extending it outward in all directions, without limit, without hostility. Then compassion, karuna, the trembling of the heart in response to suffering, the wish that others be free from pain. Then empathetic joy, mudita, rejoicing in the happiness and success of others without envy. And finally, equanimity, upekkha, a balanced, steady awareness that remains open and caring without being overwhelmed. Sāriputta describes how these states are cultivated, not narrowly, not selectively, but expansively. Above and below, in all directions, to all beings without exception. The mind becomes vast, immeasurable, free from ill will. This, he says, is the path that leads to union with the Brahmas. Dhanañjānin listens and responds with gratitude. He asks Sāriputta to convey his respects to the Buddha. Shortly after Sāriputta leaves, Dhanañjānin dies and, according to the sutta, is reborn in the Brahma world. Later, the Buddha comments on this event. He notes that Sāriputta, though acting skillfully, had more he could have taught. There was a deeper liberation beyond even the Brahma realms. When Sāriputta explains his reasoning, that he taught what he felt Dhanañjānin was ready to hear, the Buddha confirms the result. Dhanañjānin has indeed been reborn in the Brahma world. This discourse leaves us with a subtle and challenging reflection. On one level, it speaks clearly about ethical responsibility. No matter how full our lives are, no matter how many duties, pressures, and expectations we carry, we cannot outsource the consequences of our actions. Acting harmfully for a good reason does not free us from the results. Heedfulness means remembering this again and again in the middle of ordinary life. On another level, the sutta shows compassion in teaching. Sāriputta does not impose the highest doctrine at every moment. He listens, observes, and responds to what the person in front of him can receive. He points toward goodness, toward less suffering, toward a wider and kinder mind. Even so, the Buddha's gentle critique reminds us that the path does not end with refined states alone. There is always further freedom possible. For our own lives, this teaching invites a quiet question. When we feel justified in cutting corners, in speaking harshly, or in acting against our values because of responsibility or pressure, can we pause and ask, is there another way? A way to care for others without abandoning what is right? And can we, like Sāriputta, learn to meet ourselves and others where we are, cultivating goodwill, compassion, joy, and balance as a foundation for deeper insight? To sit with these questions, without rushing to answer them, is itself an act of heedfulness. This discourse leaves us with a clear and practical reminder. Responsibility does not excuse harm, and care for others does not require abandoning what is right. Even in busy, demanding lives, there are ways to act that support ourselves and others without creating further suffering. Heedfulness begins with remembering that our actions matter, and that kindness and integrity can coexist with everyday duties. As you move on from this listening, you might notice moments when pressure or obligation arises. See if you can pause briefly and ask what a more harmonious response might look like. You could also reflect on the qualities of goodwill, compassion, and balance in your interactions today, how they feel when they're present and when they're not. If these reflections are helpful, you're welcome to return for more quiet explorations of early Buddhist texts here on Still Mind Suttas. May your practice continue gently, step by step, in your own time.